Now Farrar tries to give him some breathing room, and he's going to take a shot deep downfield, and open is Bernard Berrien, and the former Bear will go 99 yards for a touchdown.
Manning on 3rd and 10. He fires, and the catch is made by Cruz, who breaks free. One man to beat. Victor Cruz down the sideline. 99 yards from Manning to Cruz.
Wes Welker pulling away, and he ties an NFL record with a 99-yard touchdown.
Andre Davis, and Davis will score 99 yards. Wow.
Hello and welcome to 99 Yards, American football for UK fans. My name is Liz Fox and I am joined by Kadeen Simmons, Jonathan Payton, Gareth Duxbury and also newcomer to the show, Johnny Cumbleton. How is everyone?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Can't complain, I guess. Still alive, usual.
You sound like you're lying down, Kadeen.
No, I am sitting up. No, I am sitting in my chair in my room.
That's good. I'm feeling a bit stuffed. I just had pie and mash, gravy
nice.
for dinner. So, yeah, I'm going to try and get through it, but I feel, ready for a lie down myself.
I'm sat up if we're talking about posture. And yeah, all good. Can't complain. It's getting dark and it's getting cold, so winter is here.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much.
In the last show, we discussed the sad news about the passing of Kevin Cadle. Obviously, this has been a huge shock to the community. However, his family wanted fans to know that they're more than welcome at his funeral service. It takes place on Thursday, the 9th of November at Croydon Minster. Sky Sports host Neil Reynolds tweeted information about it on Tuesday for anyone who'd like to know more. Now, in this week's episode, we'll be discussing the latest trades, the international series, and Sky Sports coverage for this Sunday. Now, on Tuesday, it was the league's trades deadline. We saw Dolphins trade Jay Ajayi to the Eagles for a 4th round selection in the 2018 draft. Now, Kadeem, you're our resident Dolphins fan, and in fact, on a previous podcast, you even mentioned that it was likely he wouldn't be here by the end of the season. So, good scoop. What are your thoughts on this news overall?
It's a weird one. On the one hand, you've got the Dolphins losing arguably their best running back for pretty much next to nothing. On the other hand, I think if you're a hardcore Adam Gase fan, pretty much like I am, then you look at this trade going, well, Ajayi wasn't doing what was asked of him in terms of blocking assignments, trying to kind of make every play a touchdown play instead of, taking the easy 4 or 5 yards which were given. And there's been stories about him kind of complaining after wins how he didn't get the ball enough, and when we scored touchdowns, him complaining that he didn't score a touchdown. And it seems it was a matter of Gase or Ajayi, and Gase was always going to win. So in that sense, I'm happy to get rid of him, but he's not. Yeah, basically, he's not Lev Bell in his prime to basically be kicking up such a fuss. So I am okay with it, I guess.
Yeah. My take is, you've got. It cost them a 5th round pick in the draft, so they've got a little more. They've got a lot of use out of him, which is great. Is he durable? We don't know. There's a year and a half left on his contract, so if the Dolphins aren't going to re-sign him, might as well try and get something. The Eagles clearly are in a great position and have flipped from a let's see where we are to a win now mode. You don't sit 7-1 and not think this is a window opening up when Rodgers is out. The NFC is more wide open than perhaps it has been, and the AFC, there isn't a really dominant team. This could be a Super Bowl window for them. So, just kicking the tires on Ajayi for a year and a half, costing you a 4th round pick is nothing. It's interesting you saying out about not blocking, Kay, because when the news landed, Brian Baldinger put up one of his videos, and it showed Ajayi against the Jets, where he absolutely pancaked a guy who'd come through the gap between the guard and tackle from the linebacker core, and he just absolutely stood him up, which was, maybe that's the exception rather than the rule. But I think it's a sensible thing for all sides. The Dolphins clearly want him out of the dressing room. Gase is doing a bit of house cleaning, and the Eagles, it means you can use Blount lightly as a goal line back. You've got Smallwood and Clement there, so it's a really varied thing. But will it be a case of too many cooks? Because Blount and Ajayi have both proven to not be the most, quiet and respectful of teammates when it comes to if they perceive they're not getting enough work or the right sort of work. So, that could be an interesting dynamic, but seem to make sense. Seem to be, there's you can get it from both sides of both parties, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's two. I think it's really comes down to two things, doesn't it? It's one, his ego, personality fit in the locker room. Seeing him crying off the field at Wembley. That was quite a weird thing. What was all that about? As if he was just gutted. He couldn't have made more in front of his inverted commas home crowd. It was quite a strange sort of selfish or self-absorbed moment I thought from Ajayi there. But I've seen a lot of the Dolphins this year for one reason or another. I think it's probably because they played the Jets twice, and I've not been that impressed with him physically. He's still got the strength there, but in terms of any burst or quickness of legs, or when he gets hit once, and that reset and then bursting back through the hole, which he had last year in his few games that he played well in, doesn't seem to be there. He seems to sort of slow down a bit. But even last year, he had two great games against the Rex Ryan defense that was trying to do stuff tactically that it wasn't built for. He had another 200-yard game against the Steelers. I think he had a 100-yard game against maybe the Jets, and then apart from that, he had all his other games around the 100 yards again. So, as people have said, he's not Ezekiel Elliott or at that level of running back. It's not nice little another piece for the Eagles to play around with, I suppose. Even if they end up cutting him after the season, I don't think it's too big a thing. This is a sort of a win now moment for the Eagles, as you say, especially with Ezekiel Elliott being out now for 6 games, Rodgers being out. Yeah, sort of the window's open for the Eagles trying to get home field advantage, so they don't end up having to go to Seattle or somewhere like that. Yeah. I think everyone sort of wins, low risk for the Eagles. I think it was the right thing to do for the Dolphins. Yeah, I think it was quite a clever trade all round.
As you know, I'm an Eagles fan, so I like the move. Fourth round picks get cut all the time, especially in Philly. You look at Ajayi, and I think he's a much better receiver out of the backfield than people give him credit for. He did it a whole lot when he was at Boise, and he has got that potential. He's certainly going to be a nice piece to play around with, and is an upgrade over, I would say, probably Clement, although I know a lot of people are quite high on him, and Smallwood, who just can't stay healthy. He's always getting a tissue injury and missing a game or two here or there. So from my point of view, it's win-win.
And he's wearing Brian Westbrook's old number as well.
He is. I'm not too happy about that, though.
I think it's another thing kind of people forget is that the first game of last season against the Seahawks, Ajayi was sent home. Like, this isn't a new thing in terms of Ajayi's attitude not kind of gelling with Gase. And I think from what I've heard, the reason Ajayi kind of stayed last season was because of those big games against, the aforementioned Bills and Steelers. But they haven't been exactly too happy with his production. There's some more stuff coming out today that, regardless of how he did this season, the Dolphins were going to look. They've been kind of keeping a close eye on running backs in the draft, and we're going to move on from him in the off season anyway. So it could just be a case of he was out the door no matter what happens. The Eagles just said, we'll give you a 4th round pick, and Dolphins are like, well, we'll take it. I watched Gase's press conference earlier, and he was kind of talking how Kenyon, Drake, and Williams are kind of better fit for this scheme in terms of their zone running. And, Gase showed last season by cutting 2 linemen after we lost to the Titans that if you're not with him, you will be gone. And whereas, some head coaches don't really get that kind of power. The Dolphins seem to be all in with Gase, and what he says goes. And Ajayi found out the hard way. I kind of feel like he tested his patience once last year, kind of got away with it because he played well the rest of the year. This season, and I think the Ravens game kind of showed it best. First play, 21 yard run, and then he finishes the game with 23 yards. Like, there was just no production, and the Dolphins, I think, are last in terms of stats and offense. They can't get any worse. So you take the pick and you move on.
Also, the New England Patriots traded their reserve quarterback, Jimmy G, to the 49ers for a second-round pick for next year. Now, the Patriots have then since signed Brian Hoyer. Johnny, you're new to the podcast, so I'm going to throw this one out to you. How much do you feel that these moves will impact each team, especially given that 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan has said that he thinks that Jimmy G actually might not start this season?
Well, I'm not a huge Jimmy G fan. I think he's in a scheme that's built to make the best of any quarterback. If you've got a Brady there, that's fine. When they haven't got Brady there, they play slightly different, and they're playing to the passer's strengths and weaknesses. So I think I'm not convinced he's going to be the superstar quarterback that they've traded for, or think they've traded for. And as for Hoyer's been one of these names that's bounded around, and people think he's going to be, the saviour. He's okay as a backup. You wouldn't want him starting. If anything happens to Brady, they're going to be in real trouble.
Yeah, I think it's a really good move by the Niners for a couple of reasons. Second round pick is not a big investment for a young quarterback that's spent 3.5 years, learning at the knee of Tom Brady. He's performed well when he had to come in. The 6-7 quarters he played last year were very impressive. That said, of course, it's easy playing when you have that level of talent around you. But going to Shanahan, going to a team that's rebuilding, I think is a really good move. It gives them time to see what they've got. It means they're going to have a top 2-3 pick next year where they don't have to spend it on a quarterback. So they can either amass a load more draft capital, or they could get somebody like a Saquon Barkley and really, light up that offense. Because if Kyle Shanahan, has somebody like Barkley and a QB with the fundamentals of Garoppolo, he's going to do some great things on his offense. So I think it's a good move for the Niners. It gives them a bit of hope. They're not going anywhere with CJ Beathard. And Brian Hoyer, God bless Cleveland Springsteen, but he's, he's never really done it. Johnny's right. He's always in and around, but he's a backup at best. So New England is a good place for him. He knows New England, having been there in the past. And New England, it reminds me of what's the quote that's bandied around for the old offensive coordinator under at the Colts, is it Tom Moore, where they said, why aren't you giving the backup quarterback reps? Why aren't you giving backup to Manning reps? And he's like, because if 18 goes down, we're expletived, and we don't practice expletived. So, that's the thing with Brady. He seems like he's been great since the start of this season. I thought Michael Lombardi on Ringer NFL show had a really good take, which is, they may have traded Garoppolo in the summer, but perhaps they said, look, we'll do the right thing by you, but we just need to make sure that, that Tom is Tom coming into the season. If he's okay before the deadline, we'll let you go. And there are some stories that because Belichick has a great deal of respect for Jimmy G and the way he plays, the way he's handled himself, is that's part of the reason why he didn't go to the Browns, was because he wasn't going to let him go to the Browns. So, he's gone out of conference into the NFC to a coach that apparently Belichick respects. He gets on well with the Shanahans out here. So, I think it's really, really good move both rounds. And it actually makes the Niners kind of interesting to watch, because nobody wanted to watch a minute of them with Hoyer or Beathard at QB.
I think just to touch on that last point, if the plan is to kind of bring in Jimmy G now, but kind of save him for the rest of the season, like the 49ers aren't making the playoffs this year. Perhaps they're thinking, get him in-house, kind of start teaching him the playbook now, but kind of keep losing. And if they do draft second and the Browns do take a quarterback first, bring in Saquon Barkley and you partner Saquon Barkley with Jimmy G, and you basically just enjoy yourself for the next few years. It's as for the Patriots, well, it's not like they've got Johnny Manziel a quarterback. They've got Tom Brady, so they're going to be fine. It literally is that succession plan, and as a Dolphins fan, it kind of means that once Brady does go, the Dolphins might actually win the AFC East, because I think everyone in that division, or in the NFL in general, to be fair, kind of just saw this situation where Brady retired, Jimmy G came in, and the Patriots kept on winning, and I can't live in that world. So he's out. Maybe at the 49ers he completely tanks, but I'd rather him tank at the 49ers than lead the Patriots to another 50 Super Bowls, and I live in a world where the Dolphins don't win anything. But no, it's definitely a good deal for the 49ers, because if he looks bang average, then they don't have to sign him. They can either franchise tag him, cut him, and bring in someone else, or they put themselves in the best situation. If he's actually not their guy, they can still draft Sam Darnold or Josh Allen, whoever they want next year, and then just let him go. And if that happens, the chances are he goes back to the Patriots, and I cry myself to sleep every single night. So, well done 49ers.
He looks good, doesn't he? Jimmy G in those 49ers, in the 49ers shirt. Really looks like a proper West Coast sexy quarterback.
He is very good looking.
I'm quite taken, yeah. I think maybe more than Kiki Alonso. Maybe.
I think for me, the main thing is that the Patriots are getting more picks, and we all know that they can find players even low down the draft. So it just worries me that they're getting yet another pick.
This was a knock-on effect as well with the quarterback-hungry teams, because now the 49ers are out of the picture for a while. So the Jets were feeling a bit nervous that they weren't tanking this season quite well enough. You got the Browns, who are probably going to be the first pick again. You've also got the 2004 draft class coming to the end of their lives. Roethlisberger might be done at the end of this year. Manning just doesn't look like he's getting anywhere near to how he was a few years ago. Rivers as well is knocking on. Suddenly you're going to get some quarterback-hungry teams, especially if the Giants are going to end up paying Beckham some serious money with the next contract. You don't really want that, and having to pay a veteran quarterback. You want some rookie salaries on your roster. So it's quite interesting now that sort of the Kirk Cousins market shifts a little bit. And from a Jets point of view, I hope that they're right in there, because a front office that drafted Christian Hackenberg in the second round doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. They know what they're doing in the 2018 quarterback draft class. So if the Jets are at the front of the queue for Kirk Cousins, then I'm happy. And if this has ended up what's happened off the back of the Patriots 49ers trade, then great. But it's quite interesting, because it's just shaking the kaleidoscope a little bit come draft time next year.
Yeah, and I mean, an interesting fact is, now the Niners potentially have their QB. You could have the Colts and the Niners in the top four in a QB stocked class, and neither of them need a QB. So the sort of the trading and the jockeying going on could be big. And another point as well about the Pats pick is, we're saying second round, but it's going to end up being the 32nd, 33rd, 34th pick. So it's that's a big
first rounder, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I think what's also, and this isn't really breaking news, but in terms of quarterback
You
talk.
doing your breaking news thing again, Kadeem?
Yeah, I kind of am.
You trolling Twitter giving us breaking news. Go on.
It's basically Albert Breer has said that Sam Darnold is going to take everything into account in terms of coming out next year, coming out of college. And coming out of college, I corrected myself there. And basically said that depending on who's picking first, he might stay. And that
so, Sam, you want to start playing a bit better in the college season if you're going to be considered first overall pick.
Of course, yeah. But at the same time, if the 49ers aren't taking a quarterback and the Browns are picking first, and he does not want to go to the Browns, he might stay back. he might think, well, forget this. There is no way I'm going to the Browns.
I just think, I think a lot of people in the NFL thought that this quarterback draft class was going to really excel this year in college, and there was going to really be two or three. The first 2 or 3 picks are going to be these elite quarterbacks, and they just have, and none of them have really done it. Lamar Jackson probably is now sort of floating his way to the top of that class, but it's not a home run hit like a lot of people thought it was going to be. So it's quite interesting.
He's interesting, especially with guys like we've mentioned Barkley a couple of times. He's just lights out. And as you get through the draft process, there's always a DT, there's always a lineman that starts creeping up, because everyone starts thinking of the trenches. But I'm still going to be. I mean, Josh Rosen at UCLA is still my number. He's going to be my number one QB just for the interview he gave about the NCAA before the start of the season.
Yeah.
This Thursday sees Bills at Jets. Earlier this week, Bills gained wide receiver Kelvin Benjamin, but lost defensive tackle Marcel Darius. Jono, you're a Jets fan. How did you think that Buffalo came out of this, and will they beat your beloved Jets this week?
I don't think Darius was too much of a loss for them. I don't think he was giving them much production. Kelvin Benjamin is one of those sort of I feel like he's got a bigger name than his production really lends itself to. He's got quite a big receiver, doesn't really get much separation.
Big weight as well.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's quite dink and dunk, the Buffalo passing game at the moment, and obviously they rely a lot on LaShawn McCoy. Might be a nice little piece added to them. I don't think it's going to change it much. I don't think generally individual receivers make that much of a difference to teams. Feels like the Bills have done this quite a bit in the last 10-15 years, had good starts to the season, then sort of get to the halfway point, they just fall away. I've not been overly impressed with watching them. Like they squeak out wins. They've got a good running game. They've got a good run defense. If you can pass on them a bit. But having said that, the Jets are no great shakes. They're well coached at the moment. I've been quite impressed with the coaching job that Bowles and the staff have done, and John Morton, the offensive coordinator, looks like the best Jets, potentially is the best Jets offensive coordinator they've had for a long time in a very miserable field of Brian Schottenheimer, Tony Sperano. This is not Bill Walsh quality offensive minds here, but when they've got a game plan, and this is why they've been quite good in the first half of games, when they've got a game plan in place and they can come out and they execute it, it's fine. It's suddenly when you're in the second half and the other team's adjusted, and suddenly you're sort of coming down to it's almost coming down to player v player. Your players have got to step up. What's the quality of your players? This is where sort of the poor Jets roster falls down. You have Jeremy Curley fumble. You've got Josh McCown throwing interception. You've got Buster Screen having pass interference calls and holding calls one after the other. You've got Darren Lee giving up stupid personal foul penalties, and so they're in games, and it's a great job by the coaching staff. And ironically, people still think that Bowles might go into this season, and yet he has arguably done a much better job with this poor crew of players than McCagnon, who will probably stay on as GM, has given him. So I feel like Buffalo will probably come out on top in this. I think they've just got a bit more steel. Their offensive line that's pretty good. Their defense will shut down Matt 2nd and 9 Forte, and Powell gets going every now and again and stuff. But there's no sort of, after the first 2 or 3 series, there's no sort of consistent explosiveness about the Jets offense. So. And McCoy will just be able to run on the Jets defense. They can stop Ajayi. They can stop sort of powerful backs pretty well. Once you've got a bit of a shifty back, a real top level shifty back, I think they're going to struggle. So yeah, I will go Bills with this one, I think.
I'll just do 2 quick points on the trade. I think Darius, big contract, underperformed. He's got all the talent in the world. He's proved that on and off. And I think it's a good fit for the Jags. I mean, they're paying next to nothing for him, 6th-round pick. You've already got Malik Jackson and Calais Campbell, Calais, as they say in America, Calais, because we're near Calais. Calais Campbell. and they're just outrageous up the middle. So if you can rotate in Marcel Darius, you've got a real strong cornerstone of your team.
Right.
You just add talent to.
Yeah, and if the Jaguars can just add some quality in the defensive run game, this is like elite defense. This suddenly becomes, they just need to start plugging the run a bit better. Passing wise, they're the best pass defense in the league. So I think you're right. Yeah, this could be amazing for the Jags.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for the Benjamin trade, for me, it's the reaction of teammates in Carolina, particularly guys like Thomas Davis, who are locker room leaders, who are upset at this happening. It shows that Benjamin probably was a bigger character than perhaps we knew. The fact that McDermott and Bean in Buffalo are cleaning house on bad characters before the start of the season, they're cleansing the dressing room, trying to make it all about team, all about the mission, all about following each other. They've got guys like Shady McCoy bought into that, where previously he's been a distraction to both the Bills and the Eagles. I think it shows that McDermott's got them playing hard, which you're right, John, they're not great to watch, but they do play hard. I think Tyrod Taylor is underrated, and they don't have a receiver like Benjamin, and he fits really well as that big bodied guy who can catch balls that aren't perhaps the best thrown balls. And Tyrod, I think he's great with his feet. He holds on the ball a bit too long. He does make some killer throws, but he can be a bit, scattershot. So somebody like Benjamin, as he did with Newton, gives you a bit of that flexibility in just being absolutely on point. When it comes to the game, I was looking at the numbers, and it's quite astounding that the Bills and Jets both, they're within 3-4 yards of each other in total yards per game. Like the third down turnover is pretty similar. The points per game is pretty similar. Obviously, the Jets pass more, the Bills rush more, but it's roughly the similar sort of output. But I'm afraid I'm with John. I think the Bills edge this, go to 6-2, go into the weekend tied for first in the East, and just sort of put to bed the spark that the Jets have had, I think.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think the Bills will win. I like the Benjamin addition. I think he'll stop so much defenses being allowed to crowd the line against Shady, give them some options. He's obviously a bigger receiver. He should be worth his weight when he comes into the red zone. Doesn't get much separation, but uses his body well to make some nice catches. He's been around the 1,000-yard mark for receiving in the first 2 years that he was there. And that's even with Cam not playing particularly great at the moment, as the whole of Carolina aren't. I think he's going to be a good addition. One thing I'm quite interested to see is how much Rashard Robinson plays, the corner that the Jets traded, or they traded with 49ers for him. In a couple of the games that I've seen, he really looked like he could be a good addition, although he also is a bit grabby and has given up some big penalties.
I'm kind of just more worried about how the Bills are kind of keeping pace with the Patriots as my Dolphins just start tanking. And I can only see the Bills winning this. I think the Jets will kind of have to play the perfect game, but only because, like mentioned previously, Shady is so difficult to get down, and once he gets going, you can't stop him. Be interesting to see if Benjamin does play, kind of a quick turnaround to get him, ready for a Thursday night game. Maybe be like a limited snap count or, a few plays here and there. But I do think the Bills have enough to beat the Jets. And not that the Jets are playing bad, but they're kind of back to what we thought they were, which I'm not saying like the worst team in the NFL, but, have won a few games, and I don't know, is this kind of what Jets fans actually want? Would they rather get a higher pick and take a quarterback instead of, winning 6-7 games, missing out on the quarterback again, and then having to have another year of Josh McCown or Bryce Petty or Christian Hackenberg? So I don't know. I think a Bills win and a Jets loss kind of works out well for both. I'm not too sure.
No, I think a lot of Jets fans would agree with you that they actually want the Jets to lose. A lot of fans are the tanking. The only problem is that only works if you've got the people making the right pick in the draft. There's no point in there's no point in picking. It's a little bit of a crapshoot, the draft, the quarterback draft. And I find it's quite a weird concept for people supporting their team to lose. I just think you can pick up great players at any point in the first round of the draft. So I just think I can't ever quite get my head around the Jets fans wanting them to lose, but they're really struggling at cornerback at the moment, and that's why they probably traded for Rashard Robinson this week. So you might see Benjamin in a few red zone plays because I think Morris Claiborne's out and Buster Screen's out. They were down to like 3 fit cornerbacks at the start of this week on a Thursday, on a short week, Thursday night. So I wouldn't be surprised seeing Benjamin.
I think Mo Wilkerson's out as well. I think they've ruled him out for Thursday.
Yeah, because he's been playing with a shoulder injury all season, which sort of which just about manages to work by Sundays. But when you've got a 5-day turnaround, because the league really cares about player safety, I think he's probably going to miss out. Well, you just
then I think
painkillers in.
Sorry, I'm just kind of talking about the Jets, tanking for a quarterback. That was when we thought we were going to get these amazing quarterbacks, the whole scam for Sam and stuff like that. No offense, it would be typical Jets and kind of typical Browns to both take a quarterback with their first pick, and they'd be absolutely useless. That's like not trying to take the mick,
but it's been like a real like populist thing, isn't it? This week on Twitter, it's like, the Browns, they missed out on Deshaun Watson, idiots. But if Watson had gone to the Browns with the Browns roster, he wouldn't have had anywhere near the success that he's been able to have with the Texans. It's completely different situations and the coaching staff and all that. I don't think Watson necessarily would have been lights out like he's been for the Texans.
Yeah, although I don't think Watson's getting that much help from the coaching staff. I mean, Bill O'Brien, I like him, but he has mishandled that QB room for the last 3 years, and whatever he didn't see in July and August from Deshaun Watson that made him think Tom Savage was a better starting quarterback, makes me think that Deshaun Watson will probably survive, even in the Browns.
It reminded me of the Seahawks, though, with what's his name, with when they had Russell Wilson. When they drafted Russell Wilson, they had Matt Flynn.
Matt Flynn, they brought on a big contract.
And they were like, no, we have to start him still. And then, was it a game? Even? It's sort of funny how they sort of just can't get away from it until the regular season starts, and then they go, actually, we're wrong.
And of course, one last piece of trade news. The Browns once again missed out on a quarterback, having botched the trade with Bengals. The Browns had been working on a deal with AJ McCarron just before the deadline. Apparently, Cleveland failed to submit the trade on time, making the deal void. One rumour I heard being that they were too busy celebrating that they forgot to do it. What exactly happened there?
I think the worrying thing about this is that you could kind of make something up and it would sound realistic. Like, that's how bad the Browns now are. You could have the situation where they thought they were trading for Andy Dalton and something like that, and people would actually believe it. This front office are so bad, and it's a massive, massive shame because I was at the Browns press conference on Friday. And Hugh Jackson seems like such a nice guy. The players seem like they hate losing, but they kind of feel like they're like a few plays away from winning the game, and I kind of bought into that in the half an hour I was listening to them talk. And, I don't think AJ McCarron is actually what they need. I'm not saying Kaiser is the future, but I would actually like to see what Kaiser looks like with some actual receivers. Losing Joe Thomas was a massive, massive blow. And I think that Joe Bitonio, Duke Johnson, and Kaiser all agreed that they've left points on the field. They get into the red zone so often and then end up turning the ball over. And that's why they're 0-8. But, 1 or 2 plays, 1 or 2 touchdowns, and they could be 2-6, maybe even like 3-6 or 3-5. Play bad maths. So I think in terms of this trade, if Jimmy and Dee Haslam needed any excuse to get rid of the front office and, bring in someone new, I think this has to be it, because they can't go another draft just messing up. I think it's impossible to not not draft Myles Garrett. But next year, when you've got a situation where there's 4 or 5 quarterbacks they could take, I don't really think they missed out on Watson. I think they've probably missed out on Wentz more. But what they can't do this again. You can't have the number 1 pick and miss no quarterback. And I think with the front office they've got now, it will happen. And that's a shame because, they are a nice team. They're really nice people.
You could make a carry-on film, didn't you, about the Browns? There's obviously a disconnect between Hugh Jackson and the front office. And I know you get a lot of, there's a lot of people around the league that have sort of vested interest in slagging off the Browns' approach. I love Michael Lombardi, but he's very anti-Browns, but obviously he comes from totally a different angle from this Moneyball philosophy. But having said that, I just don't think. I'm suspicious of the whole Moneyball thing anyway. I just don't think it transfers from baseball to the NFL to American football very well, as it hasn't. Even in football, soccer in this country, they've tried it. Liverpool tried it, ended up buying Stuart Downing, Andy Carroll. That was just to turn this into a podcast. But it's just another sad Cleveland story because they are such a great, iconic team of the NFL historically. You almost want to shake them and just will them to have a good season. Browns,
and everyone talks about who's got the best fans. I mean, the Browns fans deserve each a medal and a hug and a hot drink for what they've had to go through. But I think, it came out this afternoon on Cleveland.com, didn't it, about how Sashi didn't make the call or Paul DePodesta didn't make the call. It was somebody else who they didn't recognise. An email came through. The Browns expected the Bengals to send the paperwork, which apparently is not the norm. Each team sends their own paperwork. So it was all sounding very amateurish on the Browns' part, which is a real shame. I also, I don't know why they're trading for AJ McCarron. I don't think he's an upgrade on Cody Kessler. I think Deshaun Kaiser, his coach in Notre Dame, who is a bit of an expletive, but he got a lot of crap for saying Kaiser needed to go back to school and do another year, and I think he's been proved right. I mean, the guy is sailing passes high and wide. He is missing guys. They invested in that O-line. You've got Duke Johnson, who's really underrated. The defense has pieces. I've been really impressed with Nassib, actually, in Myles Garrett's absence. Myles Garrett looks like he's going to be a superstar in this league. But trading picks and the Moneyball approach, if we call it that, it only works if you hit on the people you pick. Exactly. You can't draft 5 wide receivers in one draft and have none of them be contributors. And I know Coleman's a good receiver, but you've got to stay on the field. They could have got Garrett and Watson last year. That would have been ideal, but they come out of it with. I like Jabril Peppers as an athlete, but is he an NFL safety? I don't know. Is he? Or is he just a good athlete? And and Njoku looks good. But what good's a half decent pass catching tight end when you've got nobody at quarterback? So I think. I just think Cleveland. It's sad. Now, I do. I'm with you, Kay. Hugh Jackson seems like a really stand-up guy, but his record as head coach from his time at the Raiders and the Browns cumulative is not great. So it's what are they going to do? Because the Browns they've got nowhere to go. They can't tear it all up and start again because they're just going to do what they've done before. And to your point, Jono, about Lombardi, I think he's personally scarred from his time in Cleveland, and but he certainly has an agenda there. But it's just sad, man. I mean, it's another lost season, and to cap it all, losing Joe Thomas, who I don't think people, even though it's been eulogized by people in football, I don't think they quite realize that not missing a single snap in your career, not for a dead play, not for a kneel down, not for a replacing a shoe. He has not missed a snap. That's while at the same time being the best left tackle in football on the worst franchise in football. It's just astounding, and that's a sort of sad midway low light of this terribly lost Browns season.
I think you're right. I mean, they need to do something, but McCarron was never going to be the answer. I like Kaiser. He's flashed good skills. I think he can deliver a nice pass. But as Kadeem said, there's no receiver there. You just cannot judge that team without a receiver, because everyone just crowds the line and then they cannot do anything.
I think it seems this trade has kind of had everyone inside that building. I'll say everyone. People have been sending emails to Browns, kind of journalists that cover the Browns team, and kind of saying how bad it really is there. There's all this talk about the front office leave at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon every day. The kind of coaching staff are there watching these people leave and just thinking, what are you guys doing? And if that's true, you can see why this team has gone nowhere the last 2-3 years. Especially with the Jimmy G trade. It seems that Sashi Brown didn't know about it until after it happened. It seems coaching staff are saying, let's see if we can try and get him in. We've got nothing to lose. And before they realise it, he's going to the 49ers for a second-round pick, which what the Browns supposedly offered before the draft, and they've missed out on another quarterback. And that's why, for me, I feel sorry for Hugh Jackson, because he's pretty much trying to do this with one arm tied behind his back. And for the Browns to go into another draft with the same front office, who kind of seem to have this, 9-to-5 approach to it, which it clearly needs a lot more time, they're going to screw this up even worse. And I think, kind of talking about Joe Thomas, he's done so well to stay there because it's pretty much a guarantee. If he goes to any playoff team or team with playoff aspirations, he will immediately make them better. Before Dwayne Brown moved to the Seahawks, every single trade deadline was like, put Thomas in the Seahawks, and they win the Super Bowl. And to his credit, he stayed. It seemed like he wants to stay, and you kind of get this impression. I don't know if he's come out and said this or not, but it's like if he's going to win with a team, it's going to be with the Browns. They drafted him. He kind of owes him. He kind of feel like he owes them. He owes them nothing. They owe him. So, be it Kaiser, AJ McCarron, Jimmy G, Sam Darnold, the next quarterback needs to be the quarterback, because, before you know it, Garrett will be, 24, 25. He'll be like, I'm leaving. You won't get another Joe Thomas. These stars they have now just won't sign contracts, and they will leave.
Who thought the Dolphins would win the Super Bowl with Joe Thomas?
I did. Hello. Excuse. Okay, let's just get one thing straight.
Okay, one person said.
Well, next season. Okay, I'm gonna put this out there now. Next season, when Tannehill was back, and you've got Parker, Landry, Stills, whoever. Oh, this is okay. No, I'm stopping.
You're not gonna have Landry.
Stop now. Stop now.
No, Landry's staying. I've been told Landry's staying, and he's going to sign his contract. But no, I've done talk about the Dolphins because
it was good. It was a good decision. Good decision that Kiko Alonso wasn't suspended. That's a positive for Dolphins saying sense prevailed.
But just on the Browns thing, on Hugh Jackson, okay. I mean, I agree. Like he's got trouble, but he's not helped himself. Again, start Kaiser and then bench him and then start him again and benched him. Cody Kessler wasn't dressing. He started Kevin Hogan. Kevin Hogan was cut after the same summer as being drafted by Andy Reid. Andy Reid cut him, and Andy Reid knows about QBs. So the problem is they can't get out of their own way, and they can't stop doing the simple things badly. And that, I think, is the saddest thing for Cleveland fans, is because you just can't even get your own house in order. And that's, the backup Bengals QB is not going to solve that.
They need to cut Jackson, cut their losses. He's not getting it done. I know he's got mitigating circumstances, but for me, he can't not produce it in the way that he has and still keep your job.
Okay, but at the same time, it's like apart from maybe Bill Belichick, can any coach succeed in that circumstance? And surely it's about getting rid of the front office, bringing in people who actually understand football, and kind of saying, let's see what you can do, when you have the play that you actually want. Because again, the rumour is that he wanted Watson. He thought he was getting Watson, and they traded out the pick. And, if you're a QB whisperer and you don't have your QB, like, you can't make it work. This isn't Madden. I'm sorry, but if they fire Hugh Jackson and they bring someone else with the same front office, they're going over 16 again. I'm sorry, but
and where do you go from Hugh Jackson? Where do you go from Hugh Jackson? That's the thing.
Any decent? Sorry,
I'd cut both Jackson and the front office.
But then, if you do that, but then you can't keep on blowing up the machine. At some point, you kind of got to say, let's just, stick it out. It's the NFL. You can't get relegated. Obviously, you don't want to keep picking inside the top 10, but, just look at the Jags. The Jags managed to turn it around by hiring people that know football. And now look at them. The Browns have some of the talent in place. They just need some people to give them the finishing touches, I guess.
Okay, so let's move this on. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Obviously, let's talk about the international series. Do we want to talk about the games that have just happened, or do you want to talk about what could be next?
I think there's been exciting developments on what may come. I mean, I'm just trying to spare Kay the talk of the Dolphins' performance against the Saints.
so let's focus on the future then.
Yeah, probably best.
So it's said that the announcements for the 2018 games are likely to come out next month. Obviously, there's been a lot of speculation as to who's going to come over. Alistair Kirkwood, he was interviewed earlier this week, saying that there's ambition to bring over the likes of Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson. So, of course, Twitter went into overload with everyone saying Packers and Texans, they're confirmed, which isn't necessarily the case. Personally, yeah, I'd love to see it, but I think this is just a typical hype train that comes around this time of year. But screw it, let's join in with some speculations. Johnny, obviously this is your first show, so I'm going to let you go first. Who do you think's coming over next season?
I'd love to see the Eagles. I know a lot of the US media, some of the guys in Philly, are particularly unhappy that the Eagles might be losing a game, but rumours have it that if they do come, they'll be coming as an away team. So I think I would imagine they will be coming. Remember, it was down to between them and the Giants a couple of years back, and the Eagles had to go and win, and we didn't get to see them at Wembley.
Twickenham.
Was it the Twickenham one?
yeah, it was.
So that I think they will be coming. I would love to see the Packers, but I just don't see it happening. Texans would be a nice one.
Yeah.
Texans have some issues, but they've got Watt if he comes back, and they've got some really good players. And obviously Watson is at the moment lighting it up.
In terms of who I want to see next year, I think the Dolphins owe me a performance and a win. So I'm sorry, NFL UK fans. I want to subject you to another 3 hours of Dolphins football, just so they can win. And I can see Ryan Tannehill. I can see Alonso again, who I must admit, with his head shaved, looks absolutely amazing. If I'm not gonna get them, then you kind of do want to see your big stars, your Seahawks. No offense, the one team I don't want to see is the Eagles, because I don't want weeks of, oh my days, Ajayi's coming back, and we've done that once. Johnny, I'm really, really sorry, but can we just spare UK fans of, a year of, Ajayi's coming home, is he going to win, and crap, I don't care. We've done it once. Yeah, I think outside of that, it's just I want to see, the teams we haven't seen yet. Whether, obviously it won't be a Packers home game, but, seeing Aaron Rodgers will be nice. Russell Wilson would be cool.
I would love that.
Again, whoever they bring over, I'll be there. So I don't really care, to be fair.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I think it all depends on who the home team is, doesn't it, and how they get them out. Obviously, with the Jags, the Texans-Jags makes sense for a Jags home game, and that's an easy way of getting a division game and getting them out here. That'd be fun, I think. I was looking at the Seahawks. They're obviously not going to give up a home game. I think they're in that protected club like the Packers, like the Pats. But their road games, they've got an NFC East and NFC South that will be determined by schedule, and that'll be obviously probably the Saints and the Saints and the Eagles. So again, I don't think they're in play. And really then it's only the Lions or the Bears that they play that are relatively East Coastish. So I just don't see a window for the Seahawks coming over unless it's a surprise team giving up a home game. Packers, of course, would be great, but again, I look at their schedule, maybe their home game against the Jets, if the Jets give up a game. But why would the Jets give up a game? They're a mass media market. It's really hard to speculate. I'd love to see more than the individuals. I'd just love to see some division games come over. I think it's an extra bit of juice, even if the teams aren't that exciting. It gives a narrative that you can sell. It gives a rivalry. So those would be my impression. But I think we're going. Is it going to be 4 again next year, Jono, or is it 5?
I think they're going with 4. I think 2 Wembley and 2 at the new Tottenham Stadium.
It's finished.
Yeah, I think the cynic in me, was just thinking, there's been the 4 games have all been pretty underwhelming. The last game wasn't too bad, and there's Alistair Kirkwood going, we're going to try and bring over the rest. We're going to try and bring over the other teams that haven't been yet. Look, Deshaun Watson who's lighting it up, and Aaron Rodgers, another big name. And Cam Newton, etc. So I was wondering whether this is just sort of, as Liz said, and the Eagles, who are like everyone's darling at the moment. I was wondering, like you, Liz, I thought, is this just a bit of hype? Is this just a way to get people, register your interest now because these games are going to come over? I'm sure they are pushing for it. Whether they were to pull it off, I think, is another thing. I think there's 6 likely. I always start with the home teams. There's 6 likely home teams. You've got the Rams and the Chargers. Obviously, they're without a proper stadium in LA.
Yeah.
You've got the Raiders as well, who will probably give up a game because they're in the middle of moving to Las Vegas. You've then got the Jaguars who are already committed, and then you've got the Buccaneers, who apparently are going to give up a home game the next 2 years because they want the 2021 Super Bowl, or they're going to get it. And then my wildcard one is the Redskins, because Dan Snyder really wants a new stadium.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling they want to give it up. And the thing is, Alistair Kirkwood was on Nat Coombs' show at the end of last season, and he said they'd already got a blockbuster game lined up for 2018. Now, they're going to want to open this Tottenham Stadium with a big game. They're not going to want Jaguars Titans opening that up. In fact, I don't think Jaguars are going to play there anyway. I think Khan wants to play in Wembley. Because that gets the revenues. You're looking at 25,000 less seats at the new Tottenham Stadium. So I've just got a feeling they're going to want like stars over. I've got a feeling you might see like a Giants Redskins maybe to open the Tottenham Stadium.
Yeah,
that's sort of a hunch. You might have sort of a big division game, get Odell Beckham over again, but. Sort of like 2 quite well-supported teams in the UK. I think Panthers Buccaneers is a chance as well. That's getting the Panthers over. Buccaneers, they're going to give up a game. Probably that they like bringing over divisional games now. So I think that's potentially a game. You've then got the Packers at the Rams, which is one that people have floated about. It's just whether the Rams are going to, because Packers travel well and always bring in the crowd. Yeah. So do they want to give that game? The Rams don't sell their stadium out in LA. Do they want to give that game away to London when they could, flood the stadium in LA? And then Eagles at Jaguars. That's been mooted quite a bit. I'm just sure, the league office will be going all out now. Ajayi's on the team as well.
Yeah.
For that. No. And then I know. And then Chargers and Raiders, and someone's got to go to Mexico, obviously. You'd think the Chargers would be desperate to do something. They will definitely play internationally somewhere next year.
I think they want to play all 16 games away from Seattle.
I mean,
essentially.
Yeah.
I think the NFC East one is a really interesting shot, and Schneider is. Yeah, they want a new stadium. I was there last season. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not an amazing. It's really hard to get to.
It's not even RFK. It's not even as good as it used to be.
No, and it's basically Maryland as well. So Baltimore territory. So I think. But the thing is, when you look at the figures, though, I mean, I know NFL are being all altruistic about the international by having the Around the NFL guys on Sky Sports and putting NFL in the UK on the website for when you're looking from a URL over here and an IP address over here, but. The NFC East are the biggest media markets. They are when you look at like the top 15 games, they're all. You look at how often our divisional matchups are. Sunday night football, Monday night football. That would be a big gift, particularly an Eagles Redskins. We lost, but that was one of the games of the season so far. I absolutely love that game, even though we got our ass handed to us the other Monday. Yeah, you were there. My cousin was there as well. Sent me like a 2-minute video of the place rocking. It sounded awesome.
I think they want to bring the Giants over there. I think I just think no one moves a needle more than Beckham does. Worldwide. So,
but then that's if Beckham is still there.
He'll be there.
There's talks that he isn't going to sign, and that they might try and get rid of him and kind of get what they can for him.
Yeah, I would hate to spend $20 million a year on a wide receiver. I think that's terrible. Whoever your receiver is, I don't think that's what you want to do. But I'd be surprised. I just think the fans would just go mental, wouldn't they? The Giants fans do that.
I think they would go mental, and so this is from listening to Matt Miller's podcast. And he was kind of saying that while the Giants are pleased with Beckham, they know he is the best in the league. He has been injured quite a bit. He can throw a drop. And, if Eli is on his last legs and they kind of want to build a new team that includes O-line, what better way to kind of ship in the one star talent you have, getting a crap load of picks. Evan Ingram has showed that he can not so much carry this offense, but, he's going to be a talent. So is Sterling Shepard. Like you just said, are you really going to pay Beckham, the money that he's going to want? If you're not going to, then say, give us a few first-round picks, Beckham, off you go, and you distribute that money across the team. And
$20 million a year is a lot to spend on a player that touches the ball 8 times a game.
Yeah.
It is. That's the problem with wide receivers.
Yeah.
So let's talk Sunday Night Football and the games for Week 9. This weekend, Sky Sports will be showing Denver Broncos against Philadelphia Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs against Dallas Cowboys, and finally Oakland Raiders against Miami Dolphins. Let's keep this kind of snappy. How do we see these games going? Kadeem, why don't you start us off?
I'll keep it snappy. I can see the Eagles winning. I can see the Chiefs winning if Elliott's not playing. And then the Dolphins. I think we might sneak it in the sense that the Raiders haven't been what people thought the Raiders were going to be. I think, put it this way, I would have stayed out for this game because I can see it being really, really boring, and the Dolphins just about sneak it. It definitely won't be the Raiders-Chiefs game we saw the other night. This will be more like the Dolphins-Jets game, but the first one, not the second one. So, actually no, probably will be the second one. Either way, don't stay awake for that game. Yeah.
Thanks,
well, again, this is from. I've seen the Dolphins play. I've seen the Dolphins play twice this year. Both times we haven't scored, and I'm staying up for this one. So I'm warning you: if they don't score, do not blame me because you have been warned.
Broncos Eagles. That's British born v British born. That's Menelik Watson versus Jay Ajayi. Oh,
you're so hyped for that.
It is. I'm so hyped. I'm more hyped than Neil Reynolds. Oh, man, can you believe it? John Gruden was roasting Menelik Watson on Monday Night Football. Oh, he got a real time from Gruden. Brock Osweiler's starting now. The line the offensive line just looks bad for the Broncos at the moment. They can't really get much running going. Occasional Charles run here, or Devontae Booker run there, but it's a real struggle on offense at the moment for the Broncos. So I think this will be another win for the Eagles. Chiefs Cowboys, another clash. Kansas City Chiefs ex Dallas Texans versus Dallas Cowboys. So I will probably go for the Cowboys, even though Ezekiel Elliott's out, isn't he? But yeah, let's go Cowboys, and I'm going to go Raiders.
Oh,
I think Raiders do it. Yeah.
Why? I kind of feel like you guys don't want me to enjoy my life anymore. Like, just say the Dolphins. I'll be happy, and then in secret say Raiders. Just.
Sorry,
Raiders need to win a game. Yeah.
Sorry, Kay, but I'm going Eagles, Chiefs, and Raiders.
Oh.
So
much.
I think the Eagles will win, especially with Osweiler starting first too many picks. I'm going to go Chiefs, and I think the Dolphins will lose.
Nicely put.
Okay, I think next time these guys aren't allowed on the podcast if we're talking Dolphins, because this Dolphins negativity, like, it's not fair. What have they ever done to you?
It's realism.
We just gave you Ajayi. Like, be happy.
And then before we end this week's podcast, I just wanted to quickly mention that we've now organised the next NFL UK fan meetup. It's going to take place on Saturday the 16th of December in Manchester City Centre. More information on the event is pinned to the top of my Twitter profile at NFL Girl UK, and tickets are £5 per person. Keep an ear out for it on a future podcast, and we'll chat a bit more about that. Well, that's all from us this week. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. For those regular listeners, it would be awesome if you could leave us a review by whichever form you're listening, whether that be iTunes or Spreaker. If you screenshot your review and tweet it to us at 99 yards, you'll be entered into a prize draw, and the winner and an awesome prize will be announced on Friday the 1st of December. Thanks for listening.